Hey everyone, it's Daphne from Scrap and Create, and today I'm going to start working on the interactive pieces for the Graphic 45 Joy to the World. And I had left a message, did a community post on where I was with the book because I'm running behind schedule. So I had started this project using Recollections cream cardstock from Michaels, and before I even got my pages installed, not even any of the interactive pieces, just before I got the pocket pages installed, my spine cracked. So I was so devastated by that. I kind of got stuck in a loop trying to figure out what I was going to do about it. So I had talked about switching to black, but I did manage to salvage the album, and I want to tell you what I did. And I also want to tell you that I probably won't ever use the Recollections cream cardstock again. I was so disappointed with that happening. So what I wound up doing is I wound up getting some linen fabric, and I just covered my album in the linen fabric. And you'll see I've got some bubbles here because I had not done this before with fabric, and I actually didn't use enough glue. So you live and learn, but I'm not concerned about it because all this is going to get covered with mats anyway. What I was really trying to do was solve my problem with the cracking spine, and this is definitely going to do that. So if you're using the Recollections, I recommend that you either reinforce your cover with some bookbinding tape, which I didn't have any that was close enough to the color of the cream cardstock that I was happy with, or cover it with some kind of fabric, which is what I chose to do. And then on the inside, it's lined with the Recollections paper. And I think it was really just, so far it's only been restricted to the spine area on the outside cover. I haven't had any other issues with the paper cracking. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward with this, with the fabric cover, and continue to build the album in the cream cardstock as I had originally planned. But like I said, I don't recommend it, and I probably won't ever use it again. So hopefully you picked a different cardstock or something that you're happy with, and not too concerned about it cracking on you, or have some experience with it. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. So with page 1, it is going to be 4-flap waterfall. And we're going to install the waterfall actually on the designer paper that goes here. So we won't be installing these, but I'm going to go ahead and give you the measurements. It's 4 5/8, 4 5/8 by 6 1/8, and you're going to score it 1/2 inch. So what you're going to wind up here is with 4 1/8 by 6 1/8. You're going to do 4 of those for page 1. And we're going to set them aside because they'll actually get installed on the designer paper. So on page 2, you're going to have 2 flaps, and they're both the same size. The flaps are 5 1/2 by 7. 5 1/2 by 7, you're going to score at 1/2 inch, so you wind up with a 5 by 7 finished mat. And you're going to do one on the upper and one on the lower. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and sit down, and I'll try to keep my voice up so you guys can hear me. And I'm going to dry fit this real quick to make sure that it fits neatly. And actually it's a little bit bigger than my page, so I'm going to trim a sliver off. Oh, what was that? I'm going to have to take a break. The screw fell out of my trimmer, so I have to repair that real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that brief interruption. I've got this trimmed out. I got the screw back in. It was actually what was holding my blade in place. So that is done. Oh, and I just wanted to point out also, each one of the pocket pages will have an insert, and the insert is 7 inches by 8 7/8. 7 by 8 7/8, and there will be 5 of those. And I've already pre-cut and put those in my pockets. Okay, now I'm going to turn the book around so I can see my edges on this side. And this one. Okay, sorry about that. I had to retrim a couple of things. So I'm getting ready to lay down the top flap now. And I'm just pressing in the corner, and then I'm going to check my edges. And I'm just lining everything up before I press it into place. Okay, there we go. Okay, now we are ready to put in a closure. I'm going to turn it right side up again. And we have a couple of options. You know, this is meant to overlap, so I can have the top come up higher or flip it like this. I haven't decided. Let me get my magnets ready, but I think I'm going to have the top one come across a little further. Oh, I forgot my fat tape. I just can't get it together today. I'll be right back. Make sure that it's above this pocket or this flap. So I'm going to lay it down first. Add my tape and then find the mate across from it. I'm going to do it the other way. Okay. All right. All right, so that's in. And we know it's clear of this pocket, which is nice because it won't have to go through as many layers. And then the magnet attraction will remain quite strong. Okay, pressing that into place, and now there we go. Okay, so that's done. So I apologize for that. I'm backing up because I forgot to hit the record button. Okay, now we're on to page 3. Page 3 is this pocket, and you're going to need 2 pieces, a 3.5 by 9 and a 4.5 by 9. These 2 pieces are going to go together to create a pocket and a flap. So on the 3.5 by 9, you want to score at 1/2 inch and put some tape on it. And then the back side is 4.5 by 9. We're going to adhere this on both ends and leave the bottom open because the hinge itself will act as the stop for the pocket. So I'm going to get some glue on that. Then I'm going to dry fit it and verify that that it fits nicely before I actually adhere the flap to the pocket page, okay? And this is where some of the Graphic 45 tags are gonna come into play. That's what I'm gonna place in this pocket. All right, so we're gonna place our glue from the score line to the edge, Stay away from anything in or past the score line. Okay. All right, there we go. So now we're just going to slide this in and use the flange here as the stop for this. And so I'm just laying it down, and I just want to make sure I'm as even as I can be. And then we may trim just a fraction off. I got a little excess glue to make sure it fits on the pocket page. Okay. All right, we'll let that dry for just a second. And again, we didn't put, you can put glue here. I don't think it's necessary because the hinge itself is going to keep everything inside the pocket. And if you put glue or tape, it just takes away some of the depth of the pocket. And I wanted the full depth of the pocket. So that's my logic there. Okay, now I'm going to set it in here, and I'm just looking for edge to edge if it's the right length. Or if I need to do any trimming, we want to do it while the 2 pieces are together so that they will again be precisely trimmed. And I have, it looks like a bubble in my pocket, so I'm going to try to work that out real quick. There we go. I did it, and that's because the glue was still wet enough that I could push it out the edge. Push the edge out. All right, let me see if I can find a dark piece of cardstock, or even lighter, that'll work. So I want to use this cardstock so I can better see the edges of the paper or the pocket. Now Now I'm just checking to make sure that this is flush, and then when it is this flush? I'm gonna turn it sideways, take a look. So it looks like, I'm gonna take some of the bulk off from behind it. It looks like I might need to trim it just a little. Yes, it does. Okay, so you can see there's just a tiny tag hanging off, and that's just something that's gonna get stuck or grab something. So I am gonna take probably about a 1/16 of an inch off. So very little, but it'll keep it from grabbing and let me see. And this might be one where I have to trim it a couple of times so I'm happy with it. Yeah, a little more. There we go. So you can see how crisp that is and how crisp this is. It's right on target. So we're ready to lay this down now. So now I'm just reorienting it, make sure I have it the direction I want it. And I just did all my dry fitting toward the spine, but this is my chance to decide how I want to orient my flap. I think I want to go this way. And the reason I'm choosing this direction is, like I said, I'm going to have tags in the pocket this way. And if I install it this way, there's a chance that these could slide a little bit and get hung up in the gusset area. So by turning it this way, I don't have to worry about that. They still might slide out, but they won't get bent. And that's another reason why I didn't put flanges on this pocket, is I want this pocket to be snug. And I know I'm only planning on putting 2 tags in here. And because it's sitting sideways, it needs to be snug to hold those tags in place. Okay, I'm gonna turn it sideways so I can see my edges. And then we're gonna go ahead and lay this in. And I'm just going to the very edge of the pocket page, but being sure to stay away from the gusset area. Okay, so that's it. So as you can see, I've got my pocket, or we have our pocket here. And this is the back of the pocket, and it's also behaves as a flap. Wow, I lost my train of thought. Sorry about that. So now I'm looking at this and I can see it standing up, and I might not like that. So I'm rethinking that. So I am going to go ahead and add a bead of glue down here to hold that in place. And I'm going to use as little as possible because I really don't want to eat up any of the space for the tag. So I don't even think I'm going to go across the whole length. I think I'm just going to put a bead right here in the center and press that into place. And that's just enough to keep it from bubbling up. Okay, I'm happy with that now. It's also something I can come back and add more glue to later if I'm displeased. So that is page 3. Okay, now we need to figure out how we're keeping page 3 closed. And of course we're going to, I think we're going to use magnets. I'm thinking about that for a second, because you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and put magnets in, but I might actually add a ribbon as well. But it doesn't hurt to have both. The ribbon will just be more decorative. And if I was gonna do a ribbon, I would put a piece here and a piece here, because I know my 2 tags are gonna go side to side. So it would go under the mat of the back of the pocket and under the mat of the main pocket page. Okay, and I may go back and do that anyway. so there's page 3. And then again, our insert, and that is 7, and it's also very snug. 7 by 8 and 7/8. 7 by 8 and 7/8. Okay, now we're on to page 4. And I just took that out, so here it is. So page 4 is actually quite similar. This is going to have a large flap that opens out, and then inside is another pocket. This pocket I did with flanges because I want to put a bunch of stuff in it. And between the pocket and this flap, it should hold everything in place. So I'm not as concerned about having a tight pocket because it has sort of a lid or closure on it. So everything should stay in place. Let me give you those measurements. This is 7 by 9, 7 by 9, and 1/2 inch score. I'm going to dry fit this real quick. It's going to go on the outside of the page. Okay, and this one definitely needs to be trimmed. I can see that. Oh, actually, that was a shadow. That looks pretty tight. I'm just kind of running my finger over it to see if it's going to catch on anything. It feels pretty good. So I'm actually pretty happy with that. Yep. Where am I? Okay, I'm going to put this down, and then after that we'll install the pocket. Sorry, I've got a little bit of clutter building. So I'm going to push down one corner, then I'm going to come across, make sure it's staying even with the page, not drifting up or down, and then I'm going to come down. And there we go. That is beautiful. Okay, so that is in. I'm going to double check my orientation. I'm right on. That is up. This is down. So that's going to go like so. And then we're going to put this pocket in now. So this pocket is 3.5 by 10. So 3.5 by 10. And then I've already scored 3 out of the 4 sides and added my tape. 3.5 by 10. Oh, I forgot. I think I dry fitted this. Fitted. Because pockets are a little challenging because you've got so many score lines that you're dealing with. It can be difficult. It looks... I'm actually not sure, so I'm gonna retape it and check it. And when I say retape it, I want to put it face down, the way it's going to actually be installed, and check it that way. Okay, like so. Okay, looks good. So I'm ready to put it in. If I can get the backing off. I also get questions on this. This is a what's called a weeding tool, and it's used in a lot of die cutting machines. Every brand has their own. I use Silhouette. That's the machine I use to do cutting with. It's kind of like a Cricut. Anyways, this is a Silhouette brand pick tool. I'm sure Cricut's got one, and Brothers got Scan and Cut. They all have some variation of it. And we don't carry it in the shop. You can get it at Joann's or Michael's online. They used to always have them in stock. I don't see them anymore. Or Amazon. They're pretty readily available. They last forever. I've had mine for quite some time. And I actually like it so much I have two. One that I keep with my machine and one that I keep in my toolbox with my tape, because that's what I use it for. Okay, so that is in. So we're back to right side up again. So here's our nice big flap and pocket, and we'll put some nice large photo mats in there. We need to put a closure on this. And I'm going to hold it closed with a magnet. I'm planning on putting a bifold card feature on top of here too, featuring a piece of the ephemera. So I know it's going to get quite heavy, so I want to place my magnet so that it's not having to go through the pocket, which means it needs to be on top of the pocket. So that is what I'm going to do. Also, when you have a pocket feature with a flap over it, when you're designing, it's empty. So it's very easy to put a magnet here and it'll attract, but once you fill your pocket, you're gonna lose some of that attraction. So it's always a good idea to put your magnet on the outside of the pocket for the best adhesion. I'm just gonna center it. It's not very wide, so I'm centering it so that, yeah. And I also want to, conversely, want to make sure that when I put the attracting magnet on this side, it's not so close to the edge that the magnet will be exposed, and it's not. I mean exposed that, you know, your mat won't cover it up. Your designer mat won't cover it up. So, and this looks fine. And as you know, and if you follow us at all, you know I like very tight borders, so that gives me plenty of space around the magnet. Okay, that is the end of page 4. Page 5 is a single flap, and then we're going to install a waterfall on the second half of this, and it's actually going to get installed on top of the designer mat, so we won't be installing it at the moment. And that will be a 2-flap waterfall featuring the Graphic 45 regular tags down here. So this flap is 5.5 by 7. So 5.5 by 7, and you're going to score along 1/2 inch, and then we're going to install it on the top half of the page. So I'm going to turn, so the waterfall will be down here. So I'm going to turn it around so I can see the edges. And I'm just dry fitting before I take the tape backing off, and it looks good. It looks good. So I'm gonna take this off. We'll put this in, and then this is going to be held closed with a magnet. Now I'm going to turn it right side up again. Oops, sorry for bumping the camera. Okay, we're going to put some magnets in. It's not quite centered. All right. Okay, there's our magnet. Okay, so that is the end of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, page 5. And again, we'll have a waterfall feature down here that gets installed later. On the flip side, it's exact same design. We'll have a waterfall feature on the bottom. So we have a flap on the top, And so you'll start to see where I'm repeating the pattern again as usual. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's kind of my design style. I think it brings some symmetry to the album. Some people like every single page to be unique, and that's fine. It's a little challenging. Looks like I'm a little bit in the gusset, so I'm going to take a little bit off. A little bit challenging to come up with 10 different designs. 10 different unique designs. And they look unique because the paper's different. But the flap styles are the same. Okay, that's all I needed. It was just barely in the gusset, and so when I open and close the page, I don't want it to get hung up in the hinge. Okay, this is again the top. I've got my book turned upside down, and I forgot to reiterate. This is 5 by 7. 5 by 7, you're going to score it 1/2 inch. So you have a 4.5 inch finished mat area. Is that right? Did I tell you the right measurement both times? Yeah, it is. Okay. 5 by 7, score 1/2 inch on the 5 inch side. Okay, that is in. Okay, next page. We have a flap and a pocket, and I don't know why, but for some reason I already have this flap installed. So it's the same as we've already done once before. This is, and I'll verify the measurements, 6.5 by 9, 6.5 by 9, and you're going to score 1/2 inch. So you have a finished mat space of 6 by 9. And like I said, I've already installed it. And then we've got this pocket magnet in here to hold this in place. Okay, so now that'll stay in place. Okay, so we're back to the side with the flap, and go ahead and take the bottom one off and then push the flaps into place. There we go. There we go. All right, so I already dry fit this, so it should go right in. And as usual, I'm going to orient my book so that I can see the edges better and clean up my workspace a little. A little too much going on here. Okay. I don't really need these anymore. Okay. All right. And then this was just my mistake. So 3.5 by 10, 3.5 by 10, you're going to score 1/2 inch along 3 of the 4 sides. Is this what I did? I don't know why I'm rethinking everything I did. Okay, so I was just double checking that it needed to be next to the spine, and it does. I need to get a hold of it where my hand's not on the tape, because when I go to pull away, it gets realigned. these to come over just a tad. And I think I can actually accomplish that by pressing the, there's a little bit of a bubble in it. Sorry, I'm mumbling, I'm mostly talking to myself. Okay, so I just wanted to lift that. And I'm gonna drag my hand across to try to pull that out a little. There, okay. Better. Now, magnets. And again, I'm going to place it on top of the pocket because I don't want it to have to go through everything that I wind up putting in the pocket. I think that's pretty good placement. Okay, we're in. Okay, now we're going to do that kind of unique pocket again, where we have a front and a back to the pocket, and this is 3.5 by 9, scored 1/2 inch, 3.5 by 9, and this is 4.5 by 9. I'm gonna set the book aside. So again, we're going to glue these two ends here. And then because of the way it gapped in the first installation, I am gonna go ahead and run some glue along the bottom, which I didn't do on the first one. So I'm modifying as we go based on learning. So just a thin bead on the outside. And that's because we want to keep as much pocket as we can, as much of the width as we can. And then I'm putting a bead right down here next to the hinge or the score line. And then we're going to install it like so, and then we're going to dry fit it and trim it if needed. Okay. And I'm standing it on its end and I'm pushing it toward the hinge here, just to make sure it's all the way in. And just pressing into place a little bit, letting the glue dry, and then we'll dry fit. And I didn't get enough glue right here on the edge, so I'm gonna add just a tiny bit. So it will grab. There we go. All right, now, okay. This is going to get installed like so. And so I'm just checking my edges, dry fitting, because we may need to trim it. And you really do want to glue them together first so that you're trimming them together, because if you need to make an adjustment, you want it to occur to both pieces. And it looks good. It looks really good. Okay, so I'm ready to put this in. And I'm going to use my contrast paper because for me it helps. I like to be able to see the edges clearly. Check one more time. It's just a tiny bit, so I'm going to trim that off really quickly. It was really insignificant, but I don't want it to get caught on anything. And it's done. Okay, so let's get this in. Okay, there we go. So we have a flap. Sorry, had it upside down. We have a pocket and a flap. Pocket and a flap. Yep. Okay. And it's kind of tight, just so you know. It is kind of bulky when you go to close your page. So you're going to feel a little resistance. I probably could have come up a little bit on the page. So try to learn from my lesson. Okay, you're going to need 2 flaps for the next page. They are 5.5 by 7, 5.5 by 7. And on the 5.5 inch side, you're going to score 1/2 inch. Okay, one is top, one is bottom. I'm going to dry fit these. And that looks perfect. Beautiful. I'm going to turn it over and do the top one. But first I'll dry fit. I think I already did this one. Sometimes I can tell if I've dry fit because the notes that I put for the size of the paper are actually in the install orientation. That's how I knew this one was right. Okay. Now we need 2 magnets. And I had mentioned this and I had redone the previous one. Rather than installing it here, because it's so close to the edge, I have to worry about covering the magnet. I am going to install it on the base of the pocket page, but I'm going to make sure it's clear of this flap, so it only has to go through this layer of cardstock and this layer of cardstock, not the 2 additional here and here. So I'm going to make sure that it gets installed low enough on here that it doesn't have to go through that as well. So I'm going to place this one first, and then I'll find the matching side. There we go. Like so. Like so. There we go. That's done. Okay, and now we're on to page 10, or what is going to be page 10, and you're going to need to trim out 4 waterfall pieces, and I'll go over those measurements again, and they are 4.5. Is that right? No. 4 5/8. 4 5/8 scored 1/2 inch. And then this is 6 1/8. So when you're finished, you wind up with a 4 1/8 by 6 1/8 piece, and that will be perfect to create a mat around a 4 by 5 piece of ephemera. So that's where that size came from. So 4 5/8 by 6 1/8. You'll need 4 of those, and they're not going to get installed right now. We'll install these when we actually put the mats in the designer paper, so it's actually going to lay on top of the designer paper. It's not going to be attached to the pocket page. So that's it for all the interactive pieces for this album. Don't forget your inserts. They're going to be 8 7/8 by 7. So 7 inches, 8 7/8, and you'll need 5 of those. 5 of those. I'm so used to doing a 4-page album. So sorry about all the confusion with the color of the cardstock that I was going to use. I went back and forth, but I did decide to salvage what I had. But again, I probably won't use this cardstock again. So I was pretty unhappy with how quickly the spine cracked. And I am in search of book binding that will go with cream, but at the moment I haven't found anything I like. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. That is Joy to the World, all the interactive components. And the next time we get together, we'll be adding in our designer layers. which is the exciting part. And if you don't have tags, I will be using tags in the waterfall features, so they'll actually be attached to the book. Of course, you can just replace them with simple waterfall features that you trim out from cardstock. But I will be using 1 pack of the regular cream or ivory, I'm not sure what they call it, with Graphic 45 tags, both as part of an interactive feature, a waterfall feature, and then they'll also be in some of the pockets. And then I've also have a package of the ATC cream tags, and I'm planning on using that as a fastener in a few places, but I haven't completely finished my thought process around that. So we may be using some ATC tags, and again, you can always design around that by just creating, you know, rectangular pieces of cardstock that you cover yourself. So, but if you want to make it exactly like this, you'll need those 2 tags and the tag dies, because I'll be covering the tags with trimmed out designer paper using their the Graphic 45 dies. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and I look forward to joining you again as we start the actual design components for this album. So this is Daphne signing out for now, and I'll be back soon with the next video in this tutorial series. Thanks. Bye-bye.